Hello everyone and welcome to the Eddie Proudfoot podcast. Today on our 9th episode, we are going to be talking about classes in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So let's get started. First off, what is your class? Well, lore-wise, it's your character's passion, it's the thing they're most driven towards, so on and so forth. Mechanically speaking, it is the thing that's going to progress your character as you level up, and it's going to give you the majority of the features you're going to use both in and out of combat. So starting with the classes that are available to you, the player's handbook lists out all of the classes at the start of chapter 3 on page 45. And on page 45, at the bottom of that page, there is a lovely table which summarizes a few things about all the classes. Firstly, what are the different classes? Well, rattling them off quickly, we have barbarians, bards, clerics, druids, fighters, monks, paladins, rangers, rogues, sorcerers, warlocks, and wizards. There's also in the same table a little description about all the classes that I'll let you read in your abundance of free time. Then there is something called the hit die, which we'll come back to. Primary ability scores, so this is going to tell you what ability score you're going to want to be highest if you pick this class. Then there's going to be saving throw proficiencies as well as weapon and armor proficiencies. You also get tool proficiencies and you will get 2 skill proficiencies from your class. They're just not listed out in this table. This is in the class features header of every single class section. So in chapter 3, there are 12 classes. We just listed them out. Every single class will start with a little bit of a description about what the vibe of the class is, followed by a little small quick build saying if you're new to the game, try doing it this way. It'll be really quick and easy to make a character. Boom, there you go. And then there is the class features. This tells you what all your options are, starting with hit points. So we already found out that there's something called a hit die. Your hit points is your health, and that's determined from your hit die effectively. When you start off at level 1, it's the maximum of this die plus your constitution modifier. And then at each level, you either get the roll of a D, whatever your health die is, so maybe a D8 if you're a druid, plus your constitution modifier. Or you can simply take the average, which is always in parentheses next to it, and for a D8 it's 5. For a D10 it's 6, for a D12 it's 7, so on and so forth. Now, after that, we also get the list of our proficiencies, which is armor, weapons, tools, saving throws, and skills. And then beyond that, you're going to get a list of equipment that you start with. These are a few bullet points, somewhere between 3 to 6, depending on your class, and it's going to have an A and B option for each bullet, so you pick one or the other. If you want to know what the items do, just go to chapter 5 where the equipment is, and it'll explain all of that there. After that, everything that follows is going to be specific to your class. So if we go to the second page of our class, there's something called a class summary table. It's this big table at the top of the second page typically, and it has columns like level, proficiency bonus, features, and then if you're a caster, you'll have some stuff that has to do with magic casting, so you'll have cantrips and spell slots typically. And depending on what class you are, you might have other columns as well, like key points for monks, sneak attack for rogues, sorcery points for sorcerers, so on and so forth. But not every class has its own special column. For instance, druids don't have anything special like that. The features column, which is what I want to focus on, is going to tell you what features you get at each level. So if you're a magic caster, you're eventually going to get spell casting at 1st, 2nd level, or 3rd level if you take a subclass that gives you casting. Every class will get a subclass at 1st to 3rd level, and this subclass is just going to let you hyper-focus within your class. So subclasses will be different streams that you can take, and whatever stream you do choose to take, you get the features in that stream. So check out the different options for subclasses. They are immediately followed right after the class in the same section of the player's handbook. So if you're looking at druids, you'll see that at 1st level you'll see that at 2nd level, you get your druid circle, and then it'll also give you some options of druid circles a little bit later on in the class. So you flip past all of the generic class upgrades, and eventually you get to your druid circle options. And you can see that in the player's handbook for druids, there's circle of the land, circle of the moon, and that's it. There are additional subclasses in other books that have been released since the player's handbook was published. It's one of the few things I recommend first-time players to look at outside of the player's handbook, just because there is a lot more fun to be had in some of those. But if you really just want to stick with the base rules, there's good options here too. Now, the last thing I'll say is with regards to magic. So every caster will have a spell casting ability, and this is similar to when you would hit something with a sword or shoot something with a bow. You use your strength or dexterity. Your spell casting ability is going to be dependent on your class, but it's always going to be a mental stat, so either intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. And I don't really want to go too heavy into the magic rules right now because we haven't really talked about magic at all in this podcast, so I'll save that for another episode at a later time. For now, I hope you enjoyed this summary of classes in D&D. Hopefully you've learned something. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow us on Instagram, Spotify, or Twitter. And as always, may the gods have mercy on your soul.